Welcome to Meet the Candidates, a joint League of Women Voters New Brighton and Anoka Blaine Coon Rapids Forum for candidates running for Mayor of Columbia Heights. Thank you to the candidates who are present this evening, Montrell Bond and Amáda Márquez Simula. Amáda, I got to practice that one. And thank you to the City of Columbia Heights for making this event possible. Welcome to our audience, both those who are here in attendance and to those who are at home. I'm Wes Falconant, member of the ABC League of Women Voters, and I'm a resident of Andover. I do not have a vote for these mayoral candidates. We will open with 2 questions we sent each candidate. I will direct those 2 90-second introductory questions to the candidates before we move on to questions we received from the public and those we prepared for this forum. We will be rotating the order of who answers first on each of the sets of questions. Following the questions, each candidate will give their closing statements. Answers to the submitted questions are limited to 1 minute unless I note otherwise. Well, candidates, let's get started. We determined beforehand that on the first question, Montrell Bond will go first. Amáda, did I get it better? Amáda?
Much better, yes.
Much better. Amáda will go first on the second question and then so forth. All right, here's our first introductory question. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively? And Montrell, you begin.
All right, first I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, giving us this platform. I would also like to thank the audience and the viewers at home for attending as well. I just feel that our city is on the precipice of being steered in the wrong direction. If we examine what earned us to be the recipients of the All-American City Award in 2016, I believe that we are charting off of that path. The uncertainty of hard-working single households or fixed income residents such as veterans and retired people not being able to afford their homes due to the disproportionate increases in our property taxes. Being a registered nurse for almost 10 years has served as a vehicle for me to be better positioned to lead and on a bigger platform. Being a nurse and practicing as a nurse has given me the unique skill set to be a transformative leader. I have a tenacious spirit, and I've mastered the art of advocacy for all people, regardless of your political affiliation, your race, your sexual orientation, your social status, or your religious background. In addition, I've served on various boards of the Minnesota Nurses Association. I served on the Governmental Affairs Board. I've also served on the DEI board for the Minnesota Nurses Association. I've also volunteered for organizations such as the National Alliance of Mental Illness and the Camp Bluebird, which is an adult cancer survivor camp. These are what motivates me to run. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amáda, the question to you also. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Thank you. My name is Amáda Márquez Simula, and I'm currently the mayor of Columbia Heights, running for re-election. It has been an honor serving. It's been a privilege to be the mayor of this amazing, vibrant city. I want to say these forums are so important, and I thank the League of Women Voters, Wes, Julie, out there, and City of Columbia Heights for hosting tonight, and also thanks to all of you for making time coming in here tonight, and for viewers watching this at home or on a recording. My motivation to run for office stems from a deep commitment to making Columbia Heights a more inclusive, equitable, and thriving community. As someone who is actively engaged in the city through various roles, organizing events, volunteering, working with neighborhood groups, I understand our residents' unique needs and aspirations. I'm motivated to make sure every voice is heard and represented. My previous work experience with the Columbia Heights School District and the city has given me valuable insights into how both entities serve our residents. My hands-on experience and commitment to community engagement, along with my knowledge of government operations, allow me to advocate effectively for positive, lasting change. I believe in truth, integrity, and authenticity, and in leading our community by building partnerships with other elected officials at the county, state, and federal levels, as well as with our faith and business communities, and with everyone else who lives, works, visits, or worships in our city.
Thank you. Our second introductory question is, what goals would you have as mayor of Columbia Heights? And we begin with Ms. Márquez Simula.
Thank you. As mayor of Columbia Heights, I aim to continue working with MnDOT and the county and the city to enhance our public safety on our streets, Central and University Avenue. By collaborating with all these organizations, we aim to implement traffic calming measures, improve pedestrian and cyclist safety, and reduce accidents. Additionally, I will continue to meet regularly with the city manager and police and fire chiefs, maintaining our constant, clear communication, ensuring public safety strategies reflect the needs and concerns of all residents. Securing funding for essential infrastructure improvements is another priority. I work closely with state and federal office officials to find funding to replace our public works building. I would continue to advocate for local government aid funds to help keep our property taxes low and to maintain and improve our current infrastructure, making sure that it meets the growing needs of our community. This includes long overdue investments in aging infrastructure, such as streets, alleys, and sewer systems. And I will continue to engage residents in decision-making processes by maintaining open dialogue through neighborhood groups, cultural organizations, community events, and digital platforms. My goal is to make sure all voices are heard, making city government transparent, accountable, and connected to the people that it serves. Through these efforts, I'm committed to building a more sustainable, inclusive, and thriving Columbia Heights.
Thank you. And Mr. Bond, what goals would you have as mayor of Columbia Heights?
I have a myriad of goals for the city. Press the green button. I have a myriad of goals for our city. Some of the primary goals would be to be more fiscally responsible, to come up with more creative solutions and ideas to help diversify our city's income portfolio so that we can reduce our high reliance on the property taxes. Another goal of mine would be to simply just to reconstitute an environment that led us on the path to being nationally recognized and receiving the All-American City Award in 2016. During this time, we were nationally recognized for our civility, creativity, and collaborative efforts with the school districts in partnership with the Columbia Heights Police Department for the betterment of our children's education and their futures. Another goal of mine would be to just cultivate an environment that chooses unity over division by not allowing the gatekeeping and monopolization of any political affiliation to be able to intercede with me from always choosing people over the politics. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to move on now to the questions that were submitted by the public to the League of Women Voter ABC website. We received 24 mayoral questions that we sorted through, and a few of which we combined for this forum, including this next question. So candidates and timekeepers will give 90 seconds if they need it for this one, because it is a combined question. This goes back to Montrell Bond. What do you each think are the top issues for the mayor to address, and how would you plan to tackle those issues? And what issue would you consider to be your top priority if you were elected?
May you repeat the question?
I
Sorry.
will. What do you each think are the top issues for the mayor to address, and how would you plan to tackle those issues? And then, what issue would you consider your top priority if you were elected?
All right. So I think one of the top issues for our city at the moment, again, is everyone's talking about the disproportionate increases in our property taxes. Excuse me, I can't speak. Our property taxes. Right now, our property taxes are 14.2% this last fiscal year. And so finding, as I mentioned before, finding creative solution ways to diversify our income portfolio so we can reduce that heavy reliance on our property taxes. On our property taxes. That would involve with fostering relationships and collaborating with nonprofit organizations, to bring in more different revenue for our community.
Thank you. And I will repeat it for Ms. Márquez Simula. What do each of you think are the top issues for the mayor to address? And how would you plan to tackle those issues? And then, what issue do you consider to be your top priority if you were elected?
Thank you. First goals, I would say, is working with our newly elected council members who come in January and setting our goals for what we as a community want. So my first goal is continuing to listen to the community and what they want to see, because that is my role as the mayor. And then also working with our staff, and then working with other local governments. We call it co-governing, so our county and state and federal, talking about making sure that we try to relieve some of that tax burden on our community. We do that through local government aid. We do that through grants. I am so proud of our city. The last, 4 or 5 years, we have applied for more grants. We have received a grant for Safer Streets for All. Safety is so important. And we have actually, for the first time, been on the state bonding tour to get funds for our public works building, because we know that our city residents can't afford that bill. So we need to be working with our state and federal electeds to make sure that we have those larger dollars coming into our city to pay for that public works building. No matter if we don't like it or not, we need a new public works building. This is how we take care of our city, take care of our infrastructure, our streets, our sewers. Sewers may not be that exciting to talk about, but if there's a problem, we will all be talking about it. So safety and making sure that we are working together is how we're going to get those funds.
Thank you. Sometimes when we put our questions together, we get echoes of things that have been answered, and so I just made a correction, and I'm throwing in a fun question to give you both a chance to just breathe a little bit here. And this goes back to you, Amáda. What do you like most about living in Columbia Heights?
It is such a connected community, and I've lived in a few places in Minnesota, and this is the place that's been the most welcoming immediately. And I've heard that from many people too as they've moved here. I look out on our audience and I see residents who have been here, lifetime residents. I see people who have moved in here very recently, and everyone says how connected they feel. One of my favorite shows growing up was Sesame Street. And I always thought, I want to live in Sesame Street where there's diversity. As a Latina, my dad's from Mexico. I grew up in a place that didn't have a lot of people who looked like me. And I looked at Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and thought, wow, there are places where people all look different and have different cultures, but they all want to learn about each other and get along and empower and excite each other about their cultures. And I just feel like Columbia Heights is like our own Sesame Street. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Thank you. Montrell, same question to you. What do you like most about living in Columbia Heights?
So me and my wife purchased our first home here in Columbia Heights a little under 2 years ago. And the sense of neighbor and cohesiveness and the vibrancy that this city exuded it made it a no-brainer for us to live here. I like the school systems here in Columbia Heights. We have children that attend the school systems here in Columbia Heights. I love the ambiance of the city. It's just a great place to live and raise your children. Those are the things.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So back to kind of the tougher questions now. This next one was a combined question again. I think we can do it with 60 seconds, but don't push too hard if they run a few seconds over on this one. This goes first to Montrell Bond. What will you do to make our city and our city government more inclusive? And additionally, What steps will you take to ensure city information is accessible to all residents, regardless of language or physical barriers they may face?
First, to make our city more inclusive, I would implore a method that I refer to as the reverse door policy. And so this method is explained that, and versus us sitting in our four walls comfortably, City Hall, the government officials, employees, we go out into the public and include them in decision-making processes. I also will look into open data practices that we have here in our city and be able to revamp or enhance those processes. Also, we'll look into getting the feedback of our community and promoting feedback so that we can better understand the community needs and make them feel inclusive.
Thank you. And Ms. Márquez, Simula, same extended question to you here. What will you do to make our city and our city government more inclusive? And additionally, what steps will you take to ensure city information is accessible to all residents regardless of language or physical barriers they may face?
Thank you. First, I'll address the physical barriers. I would like to say that our newer city buildings are way more accessible. We have handicap accessible bathrooms that are beautiful in our library and here at City Hall. We also have a gender neutral bathroom as well here at City Hall. And then here at the new City Hall, we also have handicap parking so that people can be super close to the door when they come in to access our city window for paying their bills, asking about permits, etc. We also have instituted the Code Red system, which is a text messaging system that I suggest anybody sign up for. It's able so the community or the city can get information out to the community quickly for either emergencies or local neighborhood events. We also have our website in multiple languages now. Many things thanks to our communications team that has bloomed in their positions at our city. And our website is available in multiple languages. We have a really thriving social media presence now through our police, fire, public safety, library as well. Our library is becoming more accessible and in getting their own website very soon. And that will also, with the power of Google, be able to be translated as well. So I think we're really making great strides to get that information out there in many ways.
Thank you. Switching gears a bit on questions, and Amáda, this one goes to you first. What's your position on high-density housing for Columbia Heights?
High-density housing is a must-have for first-ring suburbs especially. If you think about a single-family home in one piece of property, only so much tax dollars are coming from that. It's just not an efficient way for us to continue doing this. The way communities were built originally were never meant to be sustainable. The cost of taking a green space, an old farm field, and putting in sewers, blacktop, curb, sidewalk, and building a home is way cheaper than maintaining that for 100 years. And these things were not built in a way to continue with the upkeep of sewer systems that are over 100 years old. So I just think it's really important that we make sure we are looking at ways to combat those costs, and high-density housing is a way to do that. It brings in funds, and if you think about the cost of building one home, if you could put a duplex or a triplex in that same space, you can have more families living there. That is more tax dollars, but also people need to be close to these resources that we have in this city.
Thank you. Montrell, same question to you. What is your position on high-density housing for Columbia Heights?
Well, there are some negative as well as positive consequences on high-density housing. I believe that there is such an urgency to, there's such a propaganda that says that, hey, we're growing at a fast pace here. If you look at the U.S. Census Bureau, we were 18,000 people in 2010. And according to the Census Bureau in 2020, we are roughly around 21,000 for population. So that is a 3% roughly about approximately a 3% increase in the population. So that is not a fast-growing population rate. So I think we need to step back, and I believe in housing security. I also believe in the negative effects of overcrowding and all the ramifications that come with that. So I believe we need to step back, reevaluate where we want our city to go, and let the people weigh in on those items there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next submitted question, and we'll begin with Montrell for this one, is what will you do, or perhaps what should you do, to secure funding for the city public works building renovation project so that the remaining cost is not solely on taxpayers' back?
Thank you. Good question. So what will I do? What can I do? Right now I don't have much power. I'm not in office. So some ideas and concepts that I have to help reduce that burden, and to help subsidize that project would be, again, as I mentioned before, finding ways that we can diversify our income portfolio for the city so that we can have those extra funds to be able to do projects. Also, I will prioritize and budget and plan properly so that we can have the money too as well to fund those projects. Thank you.
Thank you. And same question to Amáda, which is, what will you do, or perhaps what should you do, to secure funding for the city public works building renovation project so that the remaining cost is not solely on taxpayers' back?
One of the things I've already mentioned is that we as a city have been on the state bonding tour. This is a way that our communities around the state do receive funding that they cannot solely raise by their own taxpayers. I am so thankful for Senator Kunish for coming to us as a council and city and suggesting that we hire our own city lobbyist so that we can have an extra voice at the Capitol, and letting us know about grant programs and different ways to present our city on these bonding tours. And we actually have a tour scheduled in the next 6 weeks for our representatives to attend our public works building and visit our public works building and literally see that it is crumbling away. We talked about accessibility earlier, and I want to mention that that building is absolutely not accessible at all. If anyone wants to stop by our public works building and see that, it is part of an older way of our city, and it's not something that's accessible. So I want to let everyone know why it's so important that we have to find a way to fund that building.
Thank you, Ms. Márquez. Simula, we come right back to you with what aspects of public safety are working well in Columbia Heights and what areas need improvement?
Yes, what is working well? So part of our charter, the mayor works hand in hand in charge with the police department. And we just did hire our new police chief and appointed him, and he's doing a great job, Chief Markham. One of the things that's going great is we are a very, very diverse police department. We are the most diverse police department, I would say, for its size in the state. We have promoted our first woman captain in Anoka County. We have our first Somali sergeant in Anoka County. And the reason that is so important is because that helps our police department connect with our community. Our police department is doing a great job of recruiting through our community, through the high school, and through word of mouth. And so we are really serving our residents. We also have added 2 social workers to our police department, and they work hand in hand with our fire department as well. So our public safety team is so strong working together.
Thank you. And we give the same question to Mr. Bond, and that is, what aspects of public safety are working well in Columbia Heights and what areas need improvement?
So some of the aspects that I've noticed that are working well with the Columbia Heights public safety is the police are very great at engaging, community engagement, youth engagement initiatives. I've noticed around the city, like Cone with a Cop, the Comfort with a Cop that's going on this evening. Those efforts are working very well at keeping the youth distracted and engaged and fostering that good relationships between the police and the citizens. Some things I think we can work on is finding more creative ways to bring in a more demographic population to join in on these efforts. As I noticed, it's a certain demographic of people or community residents that are attending these things. So I want to find more creative ways that we can include everyone to be a part of it.
Thank you. Well, you mentioned youth just a moment ago. This is our next to last question. Do you think the city council should have a strong relationship with the school district? Why or why not? I'm sorry. Yes, back to you, Mr. Bond. Yes.
As I mentioned before, at the time when we won the All-American City Award in 2016, it was primarily because we did have that strong connection working with the school district and collaborating with them to ensure that the betterment of our children's futures in education. I think that is very important for children to have a strong educational foundation because they are generational leaders. They will have to be equipped and ready to take over for our city. And they will be the ones dealing with the consequences of the decisions that we make today. So I think it is very important for that collaboration and to continue to promote that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Márquez, similar, same question. Do you think the city council should have a strong relationship with the school district? Why or why not?
I absolutely do, and not only do I think we should, we are having right now a very strong relationship with the school district. We recently just met here at City Hall. We regularly take turns meeting between the community district building and also here at City Hall. I think it's super important, especially we have a youth engagement police officer that works in our schools as well, and it helps all of our residents and our businesses if our two elected offices, school board and council, work well together. I regularly volunteer in the schools. I was actually just there today at lunchtime. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that we have youth engaged here. Not only do we have a youth commission, we have a lot of youth that volunteer at a lot of events that I help coordinate and other events I go to. Maybe a lot of our city events, much like Truck and Treat that is coming up in October, will have many, many youth that'll be volunteering there. And I'm so glad that they know they're a part of this community. But all of that also comes from the stewardship of the school board and council connection.
Thank you. Well, our final question goes right back to Amáda, and that is, what initiatives do you have to improve the public health of Columbia Heights?
What initiatives would I work on? Is it?
The way they word is, what initiatives do you have to improve the public health of Columbia Heights?
Thank you. Yes, well, one is safety along Central Avenue is a huge part of our public health need. As mentioned earlier, there's been over 500 accidents on Central Avenue and multiple fatalities as well, but every accident isn't even reported. So that's just the accidents we know about. We also actually met with MnDOT representatives, Councilmember Bisgins and I, and some community members. We invited them to meet at Dairy Queen so that we could have a conversation right there on Central Avenue so they could hear how loud it is, because we not only just want it to be safe, absolutely, but we want it to be enjoyable, that people can go and visit all of our restaurants, Adama across the street and Forever across the street. We want to go and visit those and enjoy our city. And I'm getting off track because I get so excited about all these things. What could you repeat? Initiatives, health initiatives. We also
we're wrapped up anyway,
right.
So
there's no smoking in parks
we got
anymore.
there. And Montrell, we finished questions by turning the same one to you, which again is, what initiatives do you have to improve the public health of Columbia Heights?
So again, some ideas and concepts that we can employ to improve our public health here. Again, safety is the biggest one here. Pedestrian and public safety here along Central Highway. Again, I understand that there are some projects in the works there. Another public health issue I will help to address is possibly partner with, like I said, nonprofit organizations to bring more. I would like to see more clinics here in our city. I would like to see more pharmacies here in our city to address the needs of our community and make it more diverse in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Montrell Bond, we turn right back to you for your closing statement.
So my disclaimer is I am not a politician. I don't have all the fancy language or words to say to you today, but I can say I do not present to you today to give you false hope. I do not present to here for you today to give you false promises. There is no immediate solutions to any problems that our city faces, but with effort, prioritization, and proper planning, I believe we can work together to begin to fix those. What I will be sure to do is be a proactive, solution-oriented, detail-oriented candidate that will be proactive and non-reactive. I would fight for everyday people like myself to represent this city. I would dedicate and sacrifice my time and energy to make sure that everyone can have their voices heard and their ideas valued. Regardless of any outcomes, we are powerful in numbers. For example, as a time in our legislative where the Civil Rights Act was enacted in 1964, this was considered a landmark legislation because it took the collective and collaborative efforts of all of Republicans and Democrats to make this happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. And Amáda Márquez, Simula, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Again, I just want to say that my name is Amáda Márquez Simula. It literally is an honor and a privilege to have been the mayor, and I would love to continue doing that with our city, working in our council, and working with all of you. I am fully committed to ensuring our community remains vibrant, inclusive, and thriving. My leadership is guided by transparency, equity, and well-being for all of our residents. We have made significant progress in creating a safer, more sustainable, and connected city. And yes, there is still more to do. As our city progresses with new development, we will have the opportunity to update those areas to newer environmental standards, improving water and environmental health for the Mississippi River, and green spaces. We must look forward and be good stewards for future generations. I will continue to listen to your concerns, advocate for positive change, and work hard to create opportunities for everyone. Let's keep building a better future for Columbia Heights.
Well, thank you to both of our candidates this evening for sharing your views with the public through your participation in this Meet the Candidates Forum. Thank you to those of you in attendance here at Columbia Heights City Council chambers for your participation as well. And thank you to the New Brighton and ABC League volunteers for helping to make this evening a success. Folks, the League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political parties or candidates for office. The League does help citizens become informed voters and advocates for important issues. And that's what this forum has been about tonight, informing the voters. If you are interested in the League, you could visit the ABC webpage at lwvabcmn.org. Persons of all gender, persons who are ages 16 or older, are invited to join our organization. The League of Women Voters has supported informed voting for over 100 years, and in the year 2024, we have many options for how we vote. Please exercise your right to vote. For more election information, visit the Minnesota Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org, or go to the League of Women Voters Minnesota website, Vote 411. Thank you and good evening.